By now, you're probably aware of the staggering $15 million prize pool on Underdog Fantasy's Best Ball Mania 4. However, winning a tournament of this size is a daunting task. Today, we're going to dive into my Best Ball Manifesto, a comprehensive guide to help you draft the best possible teams for this tournament. The goal of this video is to simplify all of my research into 4 simple strategies to employ in your drafts. If you're interested in a deeper dive on this information, be sure to read my full manifesto after you watch this video. Strategy number 4, stack your rosters. Most people now understand the concept of stacking. The pairing of your quarterback with his pass catchers gives your team higher upside, and roughly 10.5 out of 12 people in every league are stacking to some degree. One question I am regularly asked is how many players to stack with each of my quarterbacks, and my research shows that 1 to 3 players is optimal here. This can include a running back, but in the playoff weeks, it's crucial to have at least 1 pass catcher stacked with each of your quarterbacks. This strategy can give you a significant advantage. And while you are already likely stacking your pass catchers with your quarterback, you may not be stacking opponents in week 17, creating a full game stack. With the prize pool so heavy in week 17, it's important that you find your way to the top of the field here, and doing so can help you increase your win rate by around 50%, which is very significant. Let's take a look at some past examples, including Pat Kerrane's Best Ball Mania 3 winning team. Here you can see that Pat had 3 quarterback pass catcher stacks and 2 week 17 game stacks. Now, not all your stacks are going to hit every single week, but by having multiple stacks, you give yourself multiple outs to finding that tournament winning upside in week 17, which Pat did when his Tom Brady stack went off, giving Tom Brady the highest quarterback score of the week and 2 really strong scores from same team pass catcher Chris Godwin and opponent DJ Moore. Strategy number 3, draft at the right time. Achieving closing line ADP value can make a meaningful impact on your regular season advance rate. Simply put, closing line ADP value is the pick that you drafted a player at minus their final ADP. So for example, on Pat Kerrane's winning Best Ball Mania 3 roster, he took Ramondre Stevenson at pick 114. At the time of that draft, Ramondre's ADP was 107. That gave him a real-time ADP value of 7 picks, but Ramondre actually closed the entire Best Ball Mania 3 tournament with an ADP of around 80, giving Kerrane almost 3 full rounds of value on that selection and greatly improving his odds of having success in the tournament. We also see that fast drafts tend to lend themselves more towards people being able to achieve high-end closing line ADP value. And I think that's because in fast drafts, people have less time to think through decisions. You get more casual drafters in those, and that all adds up to more ADP for yourself. Additionally, your playoff win rates are heavily influenced by the number of live players on your roster. In simple terms, a live player is someone who's actively contributing to your team's success and has a non-zero score for that particular week. Drafting in July and August strikes the best balance between being able to achieve high-end closing line value while still ensuring a high number of live players on your roster, as opposed to May and June, where you may have a lot of opportunities to achieve closing line value, but you're also going to run into more dead players on your roster, like Will Fuller last year, who was a popular selection. People anticipated he was going to sign, ended up not signing, and did not contribute to anyone's points all season long. Strategy number 2, draft as if you're right. When attempting to win a large field tournament, it's important to understand the concept of draft capital by position. If you invest heavily in the running back position early on, you absolutely need to nail those picks. Remember, this is a huge tournament. You're not just trying to beat 11 people in your league. You're trying to beat hundreds of thousands of teams. So if your first round running back gets hurt, your team will almost certainly not win this tournament, as other teams with similar builds who avoided that round 1 landmine are going to beat you. So in the event that you do draft running back heavy early, you should be waiting until the middle or even late rounds to draft additional running backs, as you've already invested significant draft capital into the position. For example, if you take Christian McCaffrey with the first overall pick, you need to assume he has a Christian McCaffrey type season and stays healthy. Otherwise, your team's going to lose anyways. If you're worried about CMC getting hurt, devoting extra capital into the running back position may feel like you're helping, but really all you're doing is hurting your team's odds of hitting the upside that it needs to win this tournament, when an injury to CMC is probably going to result in you losing whether or not you backed that pick up. Conversely, if he does hit in a big way, you're going to wish those extra running back picks went to help out the rest of your roster, particularly the wide receiver position, giving you the upside that you need to win this tournament. You can't assume that everything breaks perfectly in your draft or your team's going to be too fragile. You also can't assume nothing breaks perfectly in your draft or you're going to unnecessarily cap your team's upside. But if you assume one or two key things are going to turn out as planned and you draft the rest of your team accordingly, your team's ceiling increases significantly without taking on any additional unnecessary risk. Strategy number 1, optimize your roster construction. Now let's take a look at each position. Starting with the quarterbacks, having 2 on your team is generally the best approach. You don't want to skimp at spending on the quarterback position. It's a crucial part of your roster. While having 2 quarterbacks is generally better than 3, never draft less than 2 or more than 3.
Running back, y'all.
Last season, the less draft capital a team spent on the position, the higher their likelihood of advancing into regular season. Remember, you start 2 running backs and 3 wide receivers every week, so finding value here is crucial. In general, at the running back position, you can draft them early, you can draft a lot of them, but you can't do both at the same time. Draft between 4 and 7 running backs. Going over or under this range is generally suboptimal. And running back is one of the easier positions to gain closing line ADP value on, which is why it can be smart at times to wait and find value later in the draft, utilizing what is sometimes referred to as a 0 RB approach. As for wide receivers, the more you invest in the position, the better your advance rates are. Optimal roster construction includes having between 6 and 9 wide receivers. If you invest heavily into the position early, you probably only want to end up with 6 or 7 receivers total. But if you don't invest as much draft capital early into the wide receiver position, you want 8 or 9, providing yourself with more depth and options at the position.
He never got a tight end like me. What, Shaq?
At tight end, the data is largely driven by players like Travis Kelce, who consistently performs exceptionally well. Having 2 to 3 tight ends on your roster is optimal. If you believe that Kelce or another tight end can replicate a Kelce-like season, then taking one early can work in your favor, and then you would only want to take 2 overall. But if not, it might make sense to wait until the middle to late rounds and take 3 tight ends total. If you really start late at tight end, 4 tight ends is an option, but it's advisable to wait until the very end of your draft to do so, and typically this strategy is slightly negative in terms of expected value. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the free link in the description for my full Best Ball Manifesto. And for more free analysis from Established to Run, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.